Pleasant good day to you. It's Saturday, beautiful sunshine in Georgetown, and I know many of you probably just came back from the market looking at what the prices of goods out there were, what money is left in your pocketbooks today, and thinking of the Easter break coming. Your children is going to be home, you have to buy kites, an exciting season coming up. And as we look across the nation, there are many things that are still of concern to all of us. Today, that's our discussion. The phone will be open. I will take your calls and answer your questions and discuss any concerns you may have as we discuss politics in our nation. A lot is going on. You see in the newspaper and some of the speeches recently, the government has been advertising something called the 2040 vision. And I've got to smile at that because, many of them that are currently in government will never see 2040. But yet they have a vision for 2040 for this nation. And we can't even get 2020 vision in place. In 2015, I did a lot of campaigning on a plan that was called version 2.0 of the PPP manifesto, which was built on foundation of a previous development plan, the low carbon development strategy, the national development strategy. A lot of building blocks got into that discussion in version 2.0. And in version 2.0, we had Vision 2020. What would be the necessary components and development that would have to be done in 2015, 2016, so that 2020, that vision of a growing economy, an economy where you wouldn't have had to worry today when you came back from the market whether or not you have money in your pocket for Easter for the next couple of weeks, whether or not you can buy a small kite, a big kite for your children. The economy would have grown significantly between 2015 and 2020. And we all know what happened, and it's not worth bashing anymore. The fact that now, though, that they're thinking of 2040, and many will have died. Many of those in government probably may not even see 2020. Yet the vision for 2040 is a lot of fluff, a lot of writing. Some consultant got paid some big dollars to put some frivolous ideas out there, when real life today is what are we doing for our nation. The concern being, a recent survey said about 54% of our working population is either out of a job or underemployed, not making enough money to survive on their own. So they're underemployed, 54%. Now in Haiti, it's 68% plus unemployment. And those same Haitians are coming to Guyana looking for work when 54% of our working population is out of work. They have 68% out of work, and they're coming and the government is allowing the immigrants to come in without having the market necessary to sustain a large immigration population. We know Venezuela is suffering, and a lot of those Venezuelans coming in. But just think of what our unemployment market is going to look like in the next couple months as this influx of immigrants come into the country. And as I mentioned in the last program, it's not just with immigrants coming in without a working plan, without the industries necessary to sustain new job opportunity. Our healthcare system will be under pressure. This week, the Minister of Health opened a new kitchen at the New Amsterdam Hospital, a new kitchen, state-of-the-art kitchen. That was their achievement. They finally reopened an ophthalmology hospital that was built years ago. And that's what they're commissioning. To get photo ops, right now, a kitchen is important. Or the GWI chair or the minister turning on a water pipe faucet out on the street. That is the achievement. Yet these same individuals tell us by 2040, Guyana will be better. No, we can't wait that long. We've got to go back to real economic growth in our country. You know, when you study why the economy collapsed in the last 4 years, why are we stagnant today? Why, when you look in your pocketbooks, your purses, your wallets, you don't have that disposable funds that you had prior to 2015, when we had a flourishing economy, money was flowing, construction was booming, new industries were coming in, and people wonder, well, why did that change? Well, government is there to set policies. Private sector is the engine of growth. But when the private sector now tells the government that their policies, their tax system, the cumbersome pressure that they put on the private sector is hindering growth, yet government just turned their face and said, don't worry, by 2040, we'll get our plan in place and we'll do better. That is why the economy starts to stagnate. Now it gets worse. We mentioned the 30,000 people that are real people out of work. But that number is not even correct when you've got 54% of the working population really looking for work. Good work in terms of to take care of their family, to have money to buy a car, build a house. Those are what I consider real jobs, not jobs that you barely taking home a $40,000 salary a week, and that can't make it. So when you look back, and I go back to the 2015 version 2.0 plan of the PPP, we had already started the Amalia Falls project, which would have been ended already, and we would have had cheaper energy coming in. Now, as that Amalia Falls project would have been built, 6% load a contribution to our GDP growth or economy would have happened during that build-up, because you'd had construction, you'd had so many industries supporting the development of the Amalia Falls. So the economy would have grown by 6% by just one project. We had the feasibility study ready to start the road to Brazil, the funding, the Deepwater Harbor. Again, just the construction and the build up to those projects would again grow the economy significantly. So when you wonder why the stagnation is happening in our nation, why there's no money flowing, and then you hear a 2040 plan, or you hear the treasury was empty, or you hear it was drug money, all those things doesn't add up. Because if it was, you would have had, I mentioned many times, a lot of people being arrested or money laundering or whatever would have happened over the last 4 years. None of that. They even said that the last government was stealing $300+ billion, or a ridiculous number. Well, if you are not stealing the money now, and the previous government was stealing the money, where is the money? Where is that $300 million of money that you said the former government was stealing. You should have all of that. If that was true. It wasn't true. But if it was true, then are you stealing their money? We saw just this week alone, the Minister of Housing, the papers have reported, I'm just repeating what the papers have reported, that the husband of the minister got the contract for building of houses for the government. And again, you compare why the industry was booming prior to 2015 and why is the economy stagnated. We had a very booming housing market prior to 2015. Thousands and thousands and thousands of houses going up, building, government facilitating low income, medium income, high income, remigrants. Numerous policies were being implemented and the housing market was booming. So the economy then turned over. I mean, money, the more you spend money, I buy goods from National Hardware or Gaffurs or wherever I buy my goods from. They pay their taxes in government. The horse car driver, the cantors have to move the goods, and money flow. The more money that flows in our nation, that's what creates the new economy and create a growing economy. All of that has been stagnated. We've got maybe 5, 6 government model houses that were built over the last last 4 years that they're now showing low-income members of our society what potentially you can get by 2040. Again, a lot of them won't survive 2020. So we've got a visionless government, a government that is, I mean, the age group of that government. For somebody, you know, if I tell you if I'm 80 years old, 75 years old, and I'm going to tell you I've got a vision for 40 years, 20 years from now, what I will do, I would be in my, probably if I got my cane and I can hold it and I can walk, and I can help deliver that vision, I would have probably be, you know, get a Nobel Prize. They can't deliver anything in 4 years. They can't deliver anything in the next 5 years. Definitely they wouldn't deliver anything by 2040. So we've got to figure out why the mismanagement is so evident. Why the incompetence? You know, if you look back prior to 1992, the economy was in shatters. We can't even argue that point. I mean, in the 80s, you know, many of us, myself, remember lining up from Almond Street on Vincentian Road there, Irving Street, coming all the way around to the gas station with a gas tank in my hand. And every time the line moved, I had to pick up the gas tank and move it one at a time. The economy was poor, very poor, couldn't manage. So what is, you know, and if you compare politics, we're talking politics, and you look at the PPP and the PNC, who better to manage our economy, the PNC or the PPP? I'm not saying who you like, who you'd vote for, whatever. Just answer that question. Who better manages our economy? PNC had the reins for 28 plus years, 80s, 60s, all the way to 92. PP had it from 1992 to 2015. You compare those two eras, it's a no-brainer. Now, the PNC in 2001 under President Hoyt, former President Hoyt, you know, they created the reform. I was part of helping build that reform group, trying to re-energize and put new ideas into their plan, their manifesto, see if they can, if they ever get into power, could they manage? Well, a lot of us who were the brainchild behind that, you know, didn't see them able to do it, and we all walked away. The fact that they did get into power in 2015 and they were left alone. None of us were there to help energize new ideas, and they stagnated the economy. I was sitting on a plane with President Granger probably 8 months ago, maybe a year ago. And there were two profound discussions I had with him. One, I mentioned to him that his finance minister is a great accountant. I've been CEO of many companies, and I've worked for Fortune 500 companies. And as an accountant, when you hire an accountant in your company, you want to make sure that that accountant keeps track of your dollars, how it's spent, make sure I'm paying my taxes, make sure I have money for payroll. And the accountant should do a very good job at keeping track of money. Minister Jordan, I don't know if he has done even a good job at keeping track of money. But if as a company, I wanted to make sure I grow, I want to make sure I'm investing in new industries, new equipment, a new product, and I want to build that company towards maybe merging or selling, I would hire an investment strategist, investment banker. So I told the president on the airplane, I said, Minister George is a great accountant. Maybe a good accountant, maybe a mediocre accountant. But if you wanted an investment banker, you want someone that will have a vision, that can take a risk and put new initiatives in an economy that it may not have the ability to expand rapidly, you would hire a guy named Barry Jackio. And the president was talking to me very, very nice. He actually turned his face and watched through the window and stopped talking to me. The fact is a true statement though. You as a president or as a strategist and a visionary, you have to be able to, as a CEO, you have to be able to take risks. You have to invest back in the nation. When Dr. Jagdeo invested in things like the stadium or the Berbice Bridge or the Amalia Falls, that was vision, not vision of 2040, but vision of today. If you do these projects today, all of us would benefit. And that is where the difference between the management of the economy by the PPP and the management of the economy by the PNC is so drastically different. They have no vision, they don't have the qualifications, they can't deliver on their projects, they're giving each other work, and that is not what is going to make the nation better. That's why our stagnation is there. Now, as you study why, again, we're stagnated. We've got 54%, as I said, people looking for work. We've got immigrants coming into our country, forcing our unemployment rate to go up, forcing our healthcare system, which is already in shatters. No drugs in our hospitals. Minister opening up a kitchen as an exciting project, front page newspaper, garland around her neck. That is not development. So as we look at what is stagnating it, and you think through what happened in the last 4 years. Now you shut the sugar industry. Whatever reason, you shut it. 30,000 people out of work, overtime, 10,000 sugar workers themselves. And then your foreign exchange, foreign income that was coming in from that sugar is gone. I use the word bam, it's gone. No money coming in anymore. Then the company that used the byproduct, the molasses, to make our rum in Guyana, now have to import molasses. So no sugar worker, no factory is creating the molasses anymore. So that all those jobs, all that money that was in our country that would have been paid in taxes as you export the rum is gone. DDL now imports molasses to make the rum. Why did the government have a vision for 2020? And know that if they shut those industries down, foreign income is gone, work is gone, industries suffer, our own industry such as DDL suffers, and that stagnates our economy. In order now to revive all of that, we've got to then bring back policies. Then all on top of that, you add 200 plus new taxes. You raise your, the VAT on electricity and water and, other goods. For example, I was visiting a mattress maker in Industrial Park in Eccles a couple weeks ago. And he brings in the raw material from overseas that makes the mattresses. Now he's paying VAT now on the raw material coming in. Then as he makes that mattress and he sells it now, he's got to pay VAT again. End of the day, when you go and buy that mattress, your pricing just went up 20+%. For what? So government taking $80 billion more in taxes coming into the treasury, then what are they doing with it? Jordan again is a good accountant, bad accountant, mediocre accountant. I'm not even going to put a label on the type of accountant he is. But where is that money going? Why is this not being spent back in our economy? Why the stagnation? And I tell you, because there's no vision. There's no vision. The vision is 2040. How old are you going to be in 2040? Calculate it. I'll give you a second. 2040. I've got to calculate it myself. I will definitely be, hopefully, in a nice hammock and watching my grandkids run around. Maybe, hopefully, they have a good future to think about. And we have to ensure that as citizens, as we discuss politics today, that is the reason why we're stagnated. So now you add, if you look at the Bank of Reserve, a Bank of Guyana money, what their or net investments and our banking has gone down close to 63 million US dollars. And that's all the fact is we're not exporting the timber as we used to. Our rice market has stagnated. That pressure on our foreign income is what is one component alone of the stagnation of our economy. And so when the accountant Jordan tells you we had 4.1% growth, and I just described to you the decline, $63 million decline in our net income there in the foreign. We've got the reserves being spent out. We've got an unemployment rate going up. The 4.1% again is a number that doesn't make sense as you look at the entire economic situation in our country. And so as you look at your own pocketbook, your own dollars you have now sitting that you're going to spend this weekend or next week, you are not looking to where that 4.1% growth is. You're wondering why you're not growing. And so it's a bundle of issues, a bundle of processes that creates that stagnation. One, you don't have a vision, or you have a vision for 2040. You're closing industries without alternative plans. You're implementing projects without the efficiency and effectiveness. In 2012, the headlines of Kaichor News basically said, shut the Marriott down, shut the airport expansion down. The country cannot sustain these projects. Big, flashing, red headlines, 2012 in Kaichor News. Today, if it wasn't for the vision of the PPP with the Marriott and the expansion of the airport, wonder where we would have been. We've got thousands of investors that is hitting our shores because of the oil industry, would have had no 4-star, 5-star hotel that they're looking for to stay in the country. They would have not been able to go through a half-decent airport. They did such a poor job at that airport. I'm just absolutely upset every time I think of it. But these are projects that APNU in the opposition, when they were in opposition, said to the PPP government at the time, shut it down. Don't do it. That stagnated our economy starting since that time, because they were sitting in parliament, they had the majority, they were stagnating the budgets, the growth. So when they got in 2015, they paid the price for their inefficient policies, their incompetence. level. Now, I'll open the calls. You can start calling in. I'll take your calls. But as we, come close to the final stage of the elections, and I believe the CCJ will rule in favor that 33 is majority of 65, and we're going to have elections. Now, GCOM needs to be continually exposed. In 2011, it took them 62 days to get ready for election. In 2015, it took them 72 days. In 1997, it took them 47 days, and in 2001, it took them 32 days. And today they're saying they need 150, 180 days to get ready for election. And you've got a GCOM chairman. And this is the first time, and think through this logic with me. Every other year, since 1992, I think it started, where the opposition leader nominated who should become GCOM chairman. And that GCOM chairman then, out of a list, was selected by the president, and became a GCOM chairman. This is the first time you had a unilateral government appointing their own person as GCOM chairman. In every other election, 97, 47 days, 2012, 62 days, 2015, 72 days, 2001, 32 days. And this GCOM is chairman, bless his heart, I think he should really look at the hammock as the best alternative where he should be at now. He said 180 days for election, and I don't know what I gotta find out what salary he's making, sitting there, and all the GCOM workers. I'll get those numbers and I'll add them up. That every day they should be ready for election. 32 days in 2001, they were ready for elections, and they didn't have that much money, billions of dollars that we have today to spend on elections. Incompetence. Strictly incompetence. So that, tied to all those economic indicators you just described, the stagnation of our economy will continue. I'll take a call here. Good evening. Good day, sorry.
Hey, good afternoon, Mr. Peter Ramsaroop.
Good day.
Yeah, you would like to say that we must be conscious of what's happening. The majority of sugar workers lost their job under this illegal, quasi-illegal government, right? The rest who have their job, they live on a wage and a salary that is back in 2014 rate. Because since 2014, not a cent increase has been paid to the remaining sugar workers, right? And so we need to put everything into perspective, and we need to understand. I want to appeal to the PPP, to the leader of the opposition, and to everyone, every Guyanese. Let me come together and let me be vigilant, because we know, everybody know, the APN coalition is actually the belly of the PNC, and they don't play by the book, they don't play by the rule. So to guard against being overconfident, and we see, the past two local government elections, we won it handsomely. That when we go to the polls, whether we go for an early election or we go for the election next year, so we don't want to be complacent and say that we already won this election, because I know for a fact they have all plans and they're going to put all systems in place to try and rig an election, because they know they have no chance to win a free and fair election.
Thank you.
Right, thinking Guyanese will know the same. So we need to guard against this and make sure it was a mistake they get in there. We have to make sure now we get them out and we keep them out for ourselves and for our future generation. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Interesting analysis by the caller. This week, talking about elections and continuing, I'll get back to the caller content in a second. You look at the Chronicle this week and you had the ads for naturalization of immigrants. One name here, picture here, different address, this address. The Chronicle came out and apologized that they messed up. I mean, and it's a computer glitch. Computers don't glitch where it's going to suddenly take a picture of you from a different file and put it into a different name, but then reverse itself and put your name next to another name. That's not glitch. That's somebody looking at a paper that was sent to them and typing it in, putting the picture that was asked. There was no glitch. So Chronicle can make all the excuses. In fact, these are what we've got to pay attention to. We've caught a few this week. I don't know how much we may have missed. That is institutional rigging. And we've got to make sure that our immigration policies are set. We have to be very vigilant in polling day. We've got to make sure our name is on the list. If we change address, when we have an next claim and objection period, you got to make sure you're ready. And I believe in real politics. I'm going to say my opinion. We all have to work together in our nation. Absolutely. But as a voter, you've got to decide. At most places in the world, you've got political parties. You've got the Republicans and Democrats. You've got the Conservative and Labour in England. You've got a PNP in Trinidad and the other party. Most times as a voter, or all times as a voter, you've got to decide which of that political system will present the best government or governance or vision. And in real politics, if the last 4 years you took a chance and voted for the PNC APNU government and you have not done better, you may not like the PPP completely, but the fact is they are better managers of our nation. The version 2.0 vision, as we finish off our manifesto for the next election, and you hear the presidential candidate talk about 50,000 new jobs, and APNU going, what? 50,000 new jobs? What, 2040? No! 50,000 new jobs. How will we do that? Think of version 2.0. Imagine the oil industry is going to take off on its own. Think of the just bridging the Corentyne River to Suriname. What improvement of trade that will bring to the markets here in Guyana. Think of the road to Brazil. 4,000 trucks, 18-wheelers pelting across the border, bringing goods to the Deepwater Harbor that would employ thousands of people. Being built. The Malia Falls, bringing cheaper energy. Manufacturing will increase. New industries will come in on top of the oil industry that will bring funding and financing and support services to our country. That is real reality. That's practical politics. And if you have not done you're not better off from 2015 to 2019, you have no choice. You may not go out if you're a PNC supporter. You may say, you know what, I can't go out and vote, but I'd rather you stay home if you don't want to vote, because you know if you vote them back in, your life is not going to get better. So we've got to make sure politics is real. We will work together. We believe in unity and we believe in an economic vision that cuts across race, gender, texture of your hair, color of your skin, the size. We believe in everybody benefiting. And if you go through some of the housing areas that was done and you look across the benefits to our people in our country, we had a significant growth rate prior to 2015. Yes, can I help you? Missed that call, sorry. So, reality in politics. The reality in politics is that you have to make that choice. Do you want a 2020, 2025? You want a 2025 vision? You want to see those projects that we would have already got implemented being done? Or do you want to wait till you're in your rocking chair and you're in your hammock to 2040? Or if you're a young person looking for work, graduating out of university, and you're wondering, wow, 2040, I have to wait for that to happen? I don't want to do that. I want reality today. I want a Guyana system, a political system, an economic system that is beneficial to all of us right now. Yes, can I help you?
Hi, Ramsaroop. I know you're a brilliant economist. And but could you, as an economist, Could you tell me if you would have been the head or the CEO of a business that each month you spend say $200 and you get back $100 at the end of the month? How long would you continue with that business? That's one. Two, we know that when sugar was sweet, that was in the 60s, late 60s, early 70s, you know, a lot of money was there to invest in the country's development. Could you say, before 2015, which of the industries was driving the economy? Thank you.
Thank you. Good point. I think the caller really put into perspective a discussion that is much broader in complexity. So you're right. If you're losing money, you have to look back and see why you're losing money and where the market is and what to do. So prior to 2015, there were between 2011 and 2015, there were certain measures being put in place in the sugar industry for what I call diversification. So the cost of sugar, the crystals itself, the price had dropped. The European Union had cut off the subsidiary and the price had dropped. So yes, the sugar itself was not profitable anymore. So then you have to look into the diversification. So if you remember, during that build-up, the 2012, 2013, in the budget, the PPP government were starting to test the ethanol plant at Albion. So the byproducts of sugar, for example, the molasses that DDL is importing right now, would have been continued to be a profitable market of the sugar industry. The ethanol now would have taken off to kind of bring down the price of just that crystal not making enough money. You would have had the energy supply chain that would have increased more megawatts of power using the sugar products. You would then go on to developing high-end crystal. So the market for regular sugar, I tell people as the world gets healthier and the economy and you don't eat a lot of sugar in your tea and coffee anymore, but the high-end crystals would have made a lot more money. So the PP government were moving towards looking at what is across the board, what is the best profitable way to ensure that industry survive. And then you have to put on top of that a social economic overlay. Now you've got thousands of sugar workers. So if you have to keep supplementing that industry until these diversification process was put in place, so by 2020, I believe it would have already been done and we would have had a viable sugar industry running, because the components of the resurgence of multiple byproducts of the sugar cane, we would have had to be growing more sugar cane. I didn't see sugar going away at all. As studying the sugar industry myself, I thought Guyana will grow more sugar cane. Now, the fact is Brazil is the second largest producer of ethanol in the world. Second largest producer. We just have to tag on to Brazil. So we would have want to grow more sugar cane. And the other thing, Brazil is the largest producer of sugar cake. People buy sugar cake all over the world in different forms. So we had a lot of other ideas to make that sugar industry more profitable. Government shut down the budget in many of those areas. Then they went and stopped it. So without a social impact study, you don't put people out of work in any nation. We're not a socialist country. We're not a giveaway. We believe in capital process. We need people making money, and government can subsidize and create new industries. But we would have, now going back to the version 2.0 in 2015, between 2015 and 2020, the Deepwater Harbor was supposed to be built. Now, if you say, and you didn't have the numbers to keep sugar going, and you start bringing down the sugar industry gradually, those workers then would have migrated to the Deepwater Harbor. There's a large labor pool that a Deepwater Harbor would have needed. So you would have then had no one out of work. But this government just shut it down. People out of work, no money in their pocket. So yes, I believe in profitability in our businesses, but we have to have a social conscience. We have a developing nation. We're not fully developed, so you cannot just make practical, you know, I worked for a 4-star general one time that taught me, to say, draw a triangle, Peter, in your head every time you make a decision. You've got a political, you got a rational, and you got emotional. And you have to balance those three. What the government did was made a political or decision that says, cut sugar out. We don't want it. It's a PPP support base, cut it out. The rational part and the emotional part, in fact, people will be out of work, there's no money flowing, there's no alternative job, was wrong. And that's why our economy, our foreign income is down. We don't have that foreign income anymore. When you don't have foreign income, guess what happens? It gets worse. Oil, for example, we got to spend more money of our foreign income buying oil. Oil prices is $50 plus a barrel. And so if you don't, and you spending out this little foreign income you have that you're now getting just from some of the basic industries to buy oil for Guyana. And that's why, again, the reserves and the money in the Bank of Guyana is stagnated, because there's no new money coming in and we're spending it out at a higher rate. So you don't shut these industries down because you feel it's a political decision. You've got to have a social economic impact, and you've got to make the right decision based on the right timing, and you have to have alternatives put in place to ensure that our people do not suffer. Good day. Can I help you?
Hello?
Yes.
Yes, good afternoon. I'm listening to your program, and I must say very interesting. But one of the things I think we're needing the honest politicians.
Say that again?
When we hear one group speaking, it's as if the other group is for and the next one is, you know. We fail to really look at this nation holistically, because one of the problems I got is that both governments have been corrupt. I'm listening to you and I'm getting the impression that it was on the school check. Alright? I am not representing Auckland because nothing different like this in. You highlighted some. The former president highlighted some. The thing is, we need to get this constitution changed, and nobody's interested in it while they're in power. Mr. Jagdeo is not interested in it. It's the greatest. But when they're in the opposition, everybody wants the constitution to change. But when you're in power, everybody seems to like it. And with respect to Gaisuko, you're a businessman. I'm quite sure that you would not have continued to run Gaisuko with the loss. You very well know that Gaisuko is running at the loss, and we know that Skeleton is a failure. You are fully well aware of that. And I know, like I said already, nobody in the right mind will continue to run something as a CEO if it's run at the loss. And the first person that would have been fired would have been the CEO. And I guess you know what I'm saying, right? As a business person. So why it is you making it sound as if Gaisuko could have been a profitable CPS 23 years, 6 years? Come on, man, we still.
No. What I mentioned, right? I'm not saying it was profitable all the time, but what I'm saying, if we were allowed to do the diversification plan that was being put into place, look at all the byproducts, right? Again, Gaisuko in the old days was just about that sugar, exporting that little crystal, that brown crystal or white crystal. But the world has changed, so you have to rapidly retool the industry for ethanol, for the molasses, for biogas, you know, for megawatts of power. You have to retool that industry, and that was the plan between 2015 and 2020 that was supposed to happen. So I'm saying, if at 2015 you shut it down because you didn't want to implement the plan, that was a political decision APNU made, but it's a poor decision, because had they taken the previous plan and said, okay, if we were to implement that plan, would we be able to sustain the economics of the sugar industry to some form? And again, I'm not pushing to sell that little crystal, but the fact that our people we would have grown more sugarcane and our people would have had jobs. So there are multiple answers to, if you just look at it on a practical sense where you're not making money, cut it off, I would say you're right. But you have to look at the broader picture. Says, what would you have done now, knowing that the crystal is not making money? What is the best part of that sugar cane now that will make more money? And I really believe in ethanol. I think 10% of every pump in the United States and around the world, 10% of the mix of the gasoline is ethanol. Some is 15%. In Brazil, they use 85% ethanol for their vehicles and 15% gasoline.
Just one thing quickly,
yes.
Would you have kept guys being a business force with all that you just told me? Would you have put it for all of those years of loss? Because we know that it's not a 3 years ago. Come on now.
No, but I believe the plans may have been slower in coming in terms of retooling the industry at a rapid rate. I think the plan, you know, what happened when the European Union cut off the funds and the preferential market, that put the pressure on her, and I think we didn't work fast enough to get there. But in the retooling, I really believe we would have survived. And why I believe in supporting the sugar industry still, I believe we should be growing sugar cane, just like we should be growing corn for ethanol, and we should be doing a lot of other byproducts of the sugar cane. So maybe the term sugar industry is a negative term. Maybe we should come up with a better name. The fact that what is all the products Guyana can do with that sugar cane that we're growing across the region, in region 5 and 6. What could we do with that sugar cane? Is it, if the crystals is not making money, is the sugar cane bad? Is the sugar industry bad? No. The fact is, I mentioned earlier, if now DDL has to import molasses, is the rum prices going to go up? I don't know. I believe they will, because now you've got to import that molasses, when we could have done that right here. So the sugar cane is still an important product of Guyana. What and how we use that sugar cane for profit is where the discussion ought to be. Appreciate it. Thank you. Very, I mean, and the point, the end of the point though, and I as a business person, yes, I like to be able to show profits and make money and keep reinvesting in the company. But the fact is, we've got thousands of people across the nation that needed work. So we should have kept retooling in different aspects. The Albion factory with the ethanol production should have never been shut down. We could have been producing millions of liters of ethanol from that same sugar cane that we grow. Forget the sugar itself. If the sugar itself is not making money, the sugar cane is worth something. You know, bamboo, for example. You know, we've got bamboo in the Pomeroon River. You know, the Koreans and the Chinese, that bamboo product is so important to them. They use it for food. They use it for so many byproducts. Bamboo. That's another industry in Guyana that we can look at. Bamboo industry. You know, we've got a lot of swampy areas. So sugar cane, the sugar cane has value, folks. It has value. How we retool the industry, how we look at the factories, what do we create? Do we create then high-end crystals only? People buy the fancy crystals to put in the fancy restaurants for sugar. They don't want the, you know, the brown sugar and the big anymore. They want these fancy crystals. That is much more profitable than the raw sugar that we sell. So again, the industry needs to be reopened. It needs a new version of how we implement the sugar cane, but we need to put those people back to work. And as we develop the new industries, the Deepwater Harbor and the road to Brazil and the linkage, the trade linkage, and we expand the wide agriculture development that is going to be in our plan, as we look at the oil industry and the support services and natural gas and Amalia Falls bringing cheaper energy. That is what is exciting of a 2020 to 2025 vision now. I don't want 2040. I want all of this done, and we want all of this done by 2025 now, in the next 5 years of a new PPP administration. Good day. Can I help you?
Hi, good day.
Good day.
I want to say something. If the government claims that when they're going, they're going to give 1 million jobs, if they cannot give the job now, when they will give the job? When the people go hungry, when they need, when the grandchildren them need something, who they going to go to? We sit down and listen and we hearing what's going on in the country. They're taking the sugar from us. They're taking their rights from us. They take the gold from us. They take so much things from us. And they say they will give us paradise in Guyana, where it is. Let them come out and show us now. We want it now. This government, I want to move school living too. They say 60 man, 34 and 32 make 65. Which school living too? Let them come out and show us where is the 64 and the 62 make 65. Let them come out and show us the 65.
Thank you.
Make 65.
Thank you very much. You know, I think if I summarize that caller, you know, if you have the Minister of Health opening up a state-of-the-art kitchen in New Amsterdam Hospital as the major achievement of her ministry, and Durban Park, building of Durban Park in 2015 as a major development in Guyana, and you look around, there are no new industries that have come into Guyana since 2015. The oil was already in place, and oil will take time over the next couple of years to provide needed funds in order for us to have a financing model that will give us better rates for our development. And that's why we believe in the PPP that we can radically and rapidly bring back some resemblance of growth to our nation immediately. And it's not, this is not 2040 fluff as APNU is preaching out there. You study again some of the initiatives, and if I mentioned that road to Brazil and the Deepwater Harbor connection, those are two things that goes together. The fact is now we're going to have financing available. Banks and the World Bank and the IDB and IMF and the Islamic Bank and the Indian banks going to be begging us to loan us money at cheap rates, because they're going to know that the fact is these projects are going to be radically changing our nation. And why are we going to do these things rapidly? Because we need to create jobs at a high rate rapidly. If you've got 30,000 real numbers out there, or 54% of our population out of work, real work, you can't go through another 5 years on an APNU government. What vision are you going to be able to say that caller says, where are those jobs going to come from? If they couldn't create the environment to create new job opportunities in the last 4 years, when the private sector is saying, stop this cumbersome, burdensome policies that the minister and the president has put on our businesses, give us the ability to be able to reinvest our funds and grow our business so we can hire more people. Businesses cannot do that right now. They are stuck. By the time you figure out how to pay that extra fee for your rice farm or your drainage, your mining fees, by the time you bring that goal out, you go, wow, why am I doing all this work? I can't make any money because the government is slicing it off. And our accountant Jordan is going, what? We've got $300 billion budget, people, but you're not getting any of it. No jobs are being created, because the cumbersome policies is what stagnates an economy. To get an economy growing, and to get your business growing, get your household growing, you've got your money, you invest in the right things, you invest in putting on an extra room, you may rent that room out, brings income in. That's how you create new money. That's how you create wealth. And in the projects that the PP will go back to, one, we've got to fix the system. We've got to reverse all those taxes immediately. Almost all of them will be reversed. The energy project will be started. We'll have other energy projects in place. We're going to be looking at the new oil industry, where we can bring those things together. And so it's all about how do you manage, and how the vision for a nation, and what is it you're going to practically do. You know, when you look at former Minister Fernali as the presidential candidate, and he says, well, you know, what is his achievement? What has he done that he now potentially will be the next president? You look across his portfolio as a young minister, a man that delivered on real work. When you go there, you can't say, well, you know, I like him, I don't like him, it's up to you. But the fact is, he delivered, he produced. When I'm hiring somebody in a company and I'm going to give them an appraisal and I'm going to give them a pay raise, they better have done a great job, produce for the company, make the company better, profits were coming in. The man such as Irfan Ali has done that, real work. Look around and ask President Granger, what have you done? What have your ministers done? Give work to their husbands to build houses that haven't even been built? Open up a kitchen? Build Durban Park? Is that what ministers making millions of dollars in salary now? Is that what? I would have fired all of them. You're fired. You're not delivering. I want an Irfan Ali that will produce and make things happen. So imagine Irfan Ali as president. He's been able to deliver such good service on the housing, on his ministries, tourism. You know, we just won the award for the Eco-Tourism Award. That was not something that this government did. They inherited a program that was 10 years in the making to put Guyana on the map in the tourism industry. They're reaping the award, but they didn't do anything to create that award. And that's what real delivery and management of an economy needs. It needs practical people, it needs expertise, it needs a vision of today, not a vision of tomorrow, not a vision of 2040. The fact is, we don't have all the time left. We have a lot of young people. Our population, 60+% is in the 20s and 30s. These are real young people looking for work, studying, getting their life better, preparing themselves for better work, and they want a better life. They are looking of how they can make our nation better. That's what, when one caller said, let's work together, that's what working together means. But in politics, real politics, it's not about the PNC and the PP coming together and go, well, let's pull up and shake hands and make our country better. That doesn't happen around the world. You fix institutions, you make institutions better, a parliament, a constitutional change that is necessary. You keep making the institutions better in our nation. But then you have a choice. You've got to make a choice of which political party best will manage our country. You know, whether it's the Democrats or Republicans in the United States or the Labour Conservative in England, whether it's the PPP PNC in Guyana, you now have the chance to compare PNC prior to 1992, PPP after 1992, a PNC again, APNU in 2015, and the answer is clear cut. The PPP administration is the better manager of our economy. You will do much better. New opportunities, new jobs, new creation of wealth. And a lot of us will put the effort in ensuring we don't just do the talk. You go back again to achievement. You know, the Bank of Guyana, in their net foreign assets between 2015 and 2017 dropped from 161 million US to 108. That's $56 billion GY of money between lost to the Bank of Guyana because of our net foreign assets are down. And again, that's because of the industries I told you about earlier. Yes, sir. See, call back. I'll take your last call before I close the program.
Yes, right. Good afternoon again. I want to say about this program, I think you should have more programs like this where you get more people call in and get involved and let me hear this. I want to touch back on sugar because I think a study should have been done before we close this episode, because it's not, the preaching is only one set of people preaching Gaisuku not making a profit. I think they need to provide evidence that Gaisuku wasn't making a profit. Now when you close on the sugar estate, you already speak about the molasses, the ethanol, you're going to get bagasse where you could generate power, right? What about when you close up Michigan sugar? What about the spin-off effect to the community? Right? What about the dispensary, this medical service provided? What about the navigational canal?
The drainage, yeah. Absolutely. All of those things were gone.
Most people thrown out of job. What about the pensioners who had something to receive? people need to take all this into consideration. And sugar was sweet, sugar always sweet, and it will always be sweet. But sugar was at a time where we needed money to be pumped back into like the backgrounds, into the factory newspapers and parks. We need fertilizer for the soil, we need to flood our lands, and these kind of things. My next point I would like to know. We
got a minute to go on the program, but
at the CCJ. What will become, because the 90 days have already passed.
Yes.
And so when will we have an election?
Thank you. Well, definitely we need to have an election. You know, the CCJ rule on the 10th of May, GCOM should be ready to call election 32 days after that for nomination day. It really should be a no-brainer. We should have elections almost immediately, and they need to get off their fancy chairs. Don't take it on the streets. You're getting paid big money to deliver an election within a period of time that they should be ready. And we need to ensure that things that the caller said, I mean, the new industries and not making decisions that hurt so many people, the shop owners in Berbice and in Wales, there's no money flowing for goods and services, taxi drivers, minibuses, the canals, the dispensary, all those things were affected by a poor decision to just shut it down. That is not good management. And I'll continue this program next week, on Tuesday, 8 to 8:30. I'll take your calls. Let's get involved. Politics is real. Politics is you and me. And politics is what we need to ensure is delivered right, managed right, and ensure that all of us get a chance to enjoy our nation, enjoy the wealth that Guyana will produce, and to enjoy the camaraderie, the unity that we are pushing to ensure that all of us work together for a better country. Thank you for joining me. God bless you. Good night.